So what we've got for today to make the start of our dragon is going to be 1.2mm galvanized wire, 0.9mm galvanized wire, and some florist's tape, and pliers and wire cutters, measuring tape and scissors, and a dragon. So I'm going to start by just measuring the body of my dragon. This is going to give me a rough guide. So from nose to tail he's about 16 inches, and I'm going to want to double up the wire because I'm trying something different with the face, so I'm going to try and get about 32 inches of wire. Okay, because my dragon body is around 16 inches long and I want this doubled up roughly, I've taken 32 inches of the heaviest gauge of the wire that I've got. I'm just going to match up the ends. And I'm folding it up, but I want to leave just the very top here not completely folded in half because this is going to be the top of his mouth. So we'll keep it like that. The wire's a little bit stiff to fold over the very ends, so just to protect the ends I'm going to pop in some of the florist's tape. I would normally always fold over the ends of the wire so there's no jaggy bit of wire sticking out, but that's just not being possible today. So I'm just taking a little bit of this florist tape. It'll hopefully give a little grab to the fleece as well when I get to that point. Just running this slightly off the end of the wire and then back in. And now I'm just going to twist from the head, just going to gently twist these two wires together. And I'm just going to give just over an inch here that's not twisted at the end because this is going to be his tail. I don't know what you call this, I'm just saying this will be to help him braking when he's in flight. It's like putting the flaps down. So this is our dragon's body and head. And for the wings, I'm going to want a full length to come along the leading edge right the way across his body. So this is roughly so it's about 6 inches for each wing, so that's 12 inches, plus I want 2 inches for joining it to the body, so that's 14 inches. Again, I'm going to wind the ends so they're not jaggy, because I can't fold these. So I've got the centre of this, and I'm just going to, at around 1 inch, bend the wings out. This is how they're going to attach to his body. And we're going to pop the wings on at around 3 inches down. I'm just going to use a little bit of tape quickly, and then I'll make it more secure in a second. And try and make sure that your wings and your tail are horizontal, they're the same range as each other. So I just have a short length of the thinner wire to attach the wings to the body. I'm just going to start pointing down the way, so I've made a crisscross over the body and the wings, and then wound it down to hold the extra support on, and I'm just going to cover that in tape, just the exact same way. So the legs I want to be around 5 inches each, plus the inch for the holding it on, double that, so that's going to be 12 inches of the stronger gauge wire. I'm not going to wrap the legs yet because they're going to become his toes at some point, so I'll deal with that later. I'm just going to try and fold this in half, find that center point again, and at roughly about 1 inch, folding that back out again. Measuring them up against my original dragon, his legs are going on, I'll just measure that for you. His legs are going on 3 inches down from his wings, and just taping it on first just to hold it in place a wee bit because the wire's a little bit fiddly. And the exact same, our little X over the wings and the body. trying to keep it lined up with the wings and the tail. There we go. Winding down the wire slightly. Okay, so we've got the body, the wings and the legs in place. We're going to start bending the legs. So roughly I'm going to want his body to be a couple of inches thick or so. So I'm going to bend the legs down at just about an inch to give him room to have a body. Trying to make sure they're the same length. If it's not perfect, you can always cut. So the legs, we're going to be couple of inches for his stifle, his thigh and his knee, and then bending for the hock. Now I know if I was doing this again, his foot, his toes would come out at the hock. You see where that is, instead of coming out at the bottom. If I was doing a proper four-legged dragon, that would be what I would do, because four-legged beasts walk on their toes. But as I'm making him similar to this and he balances nicely on his feet the way I'm doing it like this, we've got the stifle, the thigh, and well, the two long bones in his leg, and then from his hock down to his heel is going to be another joint. It's a mythical creature. I can make it however I want. So we're going to run that in. I want to give about an inch for his hock and then just about an inch and a half for his foot. So I need 2.5 inches here, which is about here. We're going to bend that forwards towards the wings, and the same on the other side. And then bending an inch forward for his feet. And then I'm going to turn this into an oval for his feet. And leave a gap here, don't close this off entirely, because this is how his toes are going to fit in. Starting to look dragony. Okay, for the foot we're going to need a bit of the softer, smaller gauge wire at around 6 inches long. Now because this is also small, it is a little bit tricky, I'm not going to lie. What we're wanting to start with is his toe is going to be around about an inch long, and I'm just going to take that and I'm going to give it the bend before I even start, because it gets a lot fiddly. So we're just going to pop that on the back of the heel and give it one wrap round the leg, holding it in place and trying to wrap this round as tight as I can with the pliers. And then this is the reason you've left the little gap here to be able to slot the wire through into the foot. And we're just going to take one more wrap coming down the foot, using the pliers to keep everything as tight as you can. and then we're going to take, this is going to be our first toe. I'm only going to give him 3 toes. You could give him more if you wanted. And we're just going to hold it out, bend in a section nice and tight, and that's 1 toe. I think that's a little bit short now, I see it bent. So bend, make sure it's nice and firmly bent by squishing it together with your pliers. Pop it through the gap you made, and again nice and tight. We're going to make the centre toe, bend through the gap you made, just squish that down so it's nice and firm, and again keeping it all tight and together, bend down for your 3rd toe. Pop a bend in it and back up through that gap you made and squish it nice and tight. And then with the remainder of the wire, we're just going to wrap it around the foot, closes everything off, and we can pinch together the very top of the foot to close off that gap. It's not important if you don't. And again, we want to just turn over the end, of that bit of wire that you were wrapping and get it out of the way. And the same for the toe, we just want to turn over the very end of the toe. And then I'm going to straighten the legs up and you have a pair of feet. Yeah, dragon can stand by himself now. Alright. So from the wings we're going to look at, this is all going to be one single piece, these 2 fingers in his wing, and so we're going to make that around 10 inches, a piece of the lighter wire, mainly because this is easier to work with. So take a piece 10 inches long or thereabouts. With this softer, weaker wire, it is possible just to bend in the very tips so it's not quite so jaggy. I'm going to bend this in half, but not necessarily quite an even half. So that's not even English, is it? But we're one slightly longer than the other side. Always looking at your wings for reference. So the dragon's wings are going to curve up like so, and then this last wee section of that wing is just 2.5 inches long. So if we dive into the wing here at about the same length and just fold that down the way, and might as well, while we're here, do the same, bend it upwards and then 2.5 inches and bend it back down the way. There's the start of our wing. Why does that not look even? That is. We're just going to hold this wing piece in place by wrapping it round as tight as we can go. going to hold that in place with a little bit of tape once I find the end. There we go. They'll be more firmly held in place by the time we get all that fleece on as well, but this just helps a little. So to repeat, a piece of the lighter gauge wire around 10 inches long, fold the very tips over to stop it being too jaggy, fold it not quite in half, I'm making a pig's ear of this, but fold it just slightly off half. And twist the end for about half an inch or so. So this is, what did we decide? This length here to the bend is around 2.5 inches, and the longest piece of wire is the closest to his body for his wing, and we're just going to slip this into place. Wrap the wire tightly round to hold it in place. And then using a little bit of tape just to double check that that's held in place. Oh, I'm going to have to blunt his toenails, he's making far too much noise. You hear him? I'm impressed, he stands up. Okay, a little something extra I'm going to try on this guy that I didn't do on my original dragon is I want to make a separate hinged jaw. This might be crazy, you might see me rip this out later, but we'll see. So roughly his jaw is just over 1 inch long, say 1.5 inches. So we're going to take a piece around 4 inches to account for attachments and things. Now for his jaw, I'm just going to get the centre and bend it into a nice curve. And then for the length I want it, I'm just gonna bend that up, both ends exactly the same, as near as. Can we even see this camera? You see this little shape, and then I'm going to take this little shape and I'm going to attach it by turning a little circle around, bending the wire. I knew this was going to be fiddly, so I'll start it here before I get it onto the head, just starting to bend it into a circle, popping it through the head and hooking it on. I am so going to regret this, but we'll try it. Just finishing off, closing the circle. This is really fiddly. And just sort out the deformities I've made of the shape. Okay, I'm sure you've guessed, I'm going to tape that jaw into place. Or attempt to. This might be one fiddly step too far. Once I get some more wool on this guy, once I get some wool on this guy, it will start to stabilise him quite a lot. I remember from the first dragon, it's quite tricky to start with, and then it becomes much easier. But so far, I'll give you a wee look at him. I think he's doing not bad.